her daughter was the valedictorian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you start over? It just started.
Waitsel. Margie, this black lady that used to work for us, was one of these prim, proper Southern black ladies. And she didn't like me because I would aggravate her and do stuff that I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing.
And how old were you?
I was probably about 7 or 8 when this occurred.
Maybe not that old.
No, I was at least that
And
old.
she already didn't like you. Okay.
But her daughter, this was, you know, anyway.
I know.
So, anyway, Margie worked for us, and Margie was real prim. And so, anyway, we had these 2 parakeets. The mother had gotten us, Bert and Ernie. And we had Bert and Ernie, and this was at our first house where you used to could run around the house. And Margie would go in this room that was Waitsel's bedroom, and she would iron. And so one day, I don't know what possessed me, but I used to go up behind the birds' cages, and I would pull the bird's tail, and they would squawk. And for them to squawk was just, I don't know why, but it was a thrill to hear this bird squawk.
Could you imagine Madison doing this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. She's just like her grandmother. So anyway, the birds were in the cage. Margie left the room to go hang up something she'd been ironing. And so she walked out of the room. And while she did, I decided that I was going to let the birds out of the cage. And there was a cornice over the window in Waitsel's bedroom. And so I opened the cage, and the birds immediately flew out and flew up to the top of the cornice and landed. Well, you have to know I had this uncontrollable, it's not, so we don't need to do it. Let's say it rings.
I'll let her take
Go
it.
ahead.
And so anyway, the birds flew out on the cornice, and I got behind the leather chair in that bedroom, and I had uncontrollable giggles. And I got behind the chair just dying laughing because I thought it was so funny they were up there squawking. So here the birds sitting on the cornice, and all of a sudden in walks Margie to iron something else. And when she walked in the room, Margie had greased down long black hair. You know, they didn't, it was really thick with grease. And so she turned under, and she walked over to the ironing board, picked up the iron and started to iron. Well, out of nowhere, unexpectedly, the birds flew down, and one flew into Margie's hair. And they had like a little thong on the back of their leg. So the bird flew down in Margie's hair, and when she did, the bird got her legs stuck into Margie's hair. And the bird started flapping, and because she couldn't get loose out of Margie's hair, and so the bird's flapping, and Margie's screaming. And I just went crazy laughing. And the bird's flying, I'm going, and Margie's screaming, and all this is going on. And the more she screams, the more I'm hysterical laughing behind the chair. And she's yelling at me, and I don't know what to do. And I don't remember now how Daddy got home, but Daddy walked in the house, and Daddy was not happy, to say the least. And Daddy took his belt off and took me to the bathroom. And every time Daddy would swap me with the belt, I would laugh that much harder. And the birds were squawking, and Margie was screaming, and Daddy was yelling at me, and all this was just going on, and it was absolutely the most hilarious thing.
And where was Roseanne and her bird club?
I don't know where.
I don't know, but I just know
Bridge
every
Club.
time Daddy whopped me, I laughed that much harder. So it was funny, and I knew I was in dead trouble, but I didn't even care at that point. It was funny.
Well, how did it finally end? Did he whip you good?
I think he figured he was going to probably break my skin to the bone because he was ready to kill me.
Well, my brother Dick used to do crazy things too, and Mother would take him. She'd send one of us out to get a switch off, to spank him with it. And when she'd take him into the bathroom, and she'd always go in the bathroom and close the door. Next thing we know, and she could no more whip him because they were both laughing. He would say, Nanny, you don't want to quit whip poor old Dick, do you? She said lots of crazy things like that, and it'd make her to get tickled. And
You
she
can see
never
Uncle
did
Dick
it.
doing that.
He
I
never
can
got
see
a-
it
he
as
never got a
clear
whip.
as day this very minute.
Oh,
It was
Daddy, oh, you can just see him.
It was funny.
Oh my gosh.
So Margie, oh my Lord, she hated.
Now what did she do after that? She probably.
I don't know how we got the bird out of
These kids were always doing something.
And your dad was mad enough that he didn't care about Margie and the bird. He wanted to whip you up.
I ever could keep a babysitter or a maid or anybody. I just had somebody coming in to iron, and these kids would just, they'd get outside, and you all would aggravate each other in front. I don't have any.
Wait, so that must have been you. Don't.
I can't.
Was the maid also in charge of the children when she was there? Oh, okay.
Babysitting and ironing.
Well, in charge is a loose. You have to use it in a very loose.
They were supposed to. They were supposed to be minding her.
That was back in the day when you
were supposed to be minding her. That was.
You call your neighbor and say, "Would you? I'm going to be out for a few hours. Would you just kind of keep an eye on my children?"
Right. They never be out in the neighborhood.
Well, yeah, Debbie used to lock the maids out of the house.
No way.
Oh,
yeah.
Debbie.
When I went with Dad,
never.
A party or something at night and leave babysitter then.
Debbie, why don't you tell us the story of when you went in my bed? I was in the backyard playing like a good little boy. Debbie goes into my bedroom, takes down from my shelf one of my collectible models that I had made and painted, and goes over to the window and looks out and acts like she's tearing the head off of it and tearing it apart. And I got so upset, I came up to the window and I slammed my fist against the window, breaking the window. So when Dad got home, did he wear me out? And Debbie got nothing.
But let me tell you a story that did happen, and this is the honest truth.
But that was the honest truth.
Waitsel, when he was he had this bedroom that, you know, opened out. You could look in from the ground.
Now you talking about where is this?
This is Waitsel.
It was on the first floor, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just you could look in from the window. But I remember one time, Mother came home or something exactly. I don't remember what instigated this, but Waitsel really was innocent. Waitsel got a spanking because he was very artistic. And he was always cutting out and doing stuff. And he got a spanking because that curtain in that bedroom, Mother and them thought he had cut the print out of the curtain. It was some kind of nursery rhyme or something. But what had actually happened was the curtain had dry rotted. And the pattern had started coming loose. But Waitsel was such a perfectionist when he did arty stuff that it looked like he had started to cut the pattern out, but he really hadn't. Mother realized later that because it was too much of the curtain that it was missing, that it actually had dry rotted, but he got more spanking for that. He really did deserve it. He really.
I never deserved any of the spankings I got.
I'm sure that just made up for some of the ones you didn't get a spanking.
All right, now Debbie, tell us about the coat hanger fights that you and Linda and I.
Coat hanger.
That was in the other house.
How did you ever keep your house
older?
No, that was in the because our bedrooms were across from each other, so we had a good. Oh, Debbie, come on, don't forget that.
That's when our new house.
Oh, Deb.
But your house looks like it does now. It looked like that when we were growing up, and Lynn and I were, and it still looks as clean and neat as a pin. Mine never quit. Never did.
Never stopped.
But Rachel, we'd get down the hallway whenever, I don't remember. I was like in high school when we moved in there, but I think we just did that to antagonize Waitsel.
Well, you did everything to antagonize Waitsel. What's different about that?
Waitsel did get his finger. We had this neighbor that lived up the street, church children. It was a minister.
Yeah, it was.
She was always instigating stuff at our house. To go down to our house and do it. Like they had all girls. They had 3 girls, and it was
the halls. It was the halls.
Waitsel didn't have any boys, so we'd get him down the hallway, and we'd start throwing coat hangers at him. But we knew Mother was gonna kill us because she didn't want to get a nick on the wall or anything. But we did that.
Forget Waitsel's eye. Just don't get
Not the health of Waitsel.
So one time we were at their house, and I was trying to get into the room where everybody else was. And they slammed the door with my finger in the crack and mashed my finger.
This was a preacher's
mashed the little finger.
Yeah, this one here.
Mashed it off.
That one. They mashed it off. But now, how about the time Mom cut Uncle Dick's thumb off? Let's talk about that.
Oh.
Mom was up in a tree.
No, Mom was not
in the tree.
Okay, Uncle Dick was up in a
There was a
tree.
bird's
He had
nest
climbed.
Let me
He had
tell it.
climbed. Okay, go ahead
You
and tell.
weren't born then. I was a little girl.
Well, tell us, Mom.
Well, he climbed up in the tree because there was a bird, and somebody had been there with a sickle. What do you call those?
A sickle.
You know, where they
Yeah.
cut down.
Oh.
Was hanging across the limb. They had left it hanging on the limb. So Dick thought he could climb. He climbed up the tree by the handles on that slit, and got up there. And when he got ready to see that bird's nest, when he got ready to come down, he said, "Roseanne, hold this still for me to crawl down." And when I took hold of it to hold it still, I didn't know his finger was under the blade, and it cut off his end of his thumb. And it was just like a water
I
pistol.
thought you cut your thumb off in a car door.
One time we
Go ahead and tell them what happened to the end of the thumb.
Well, Mother didn't drive, and I've forgotten we had to get somebody.
You went to see Dr. Mary, and she said, "Go back and find the end of that thumb, and I'll sew it back on."
We couldn't find it. Well,
but they couldn't find it.
So how much was
it?
it?
Just grew over his finger, over at the end. But
he's always had messed up thumb.
Yeah, but anyway, what was the other thing I started?
So did that mess his golf swing up?
I don't know.
What was that?
They improved it.
One.
He had trouble hitchhiking
day,
after that.
My aunts were from Morganton. Her mother was one of them. They had come over to spend the day for lunch, and the women decided they were going downtown to shop, and my cousin Betty was my age, and we wanted to go with them, and they said no, we couldn't go. Well, we went and jumped in the car, and I got in and pulled the door closed, and my thumb was in the crack of the door. So that's where I did what I did in my finger. See, that's where I'm starting.
Oh dear.
I broke the.
Show the camera, Mom. Hold it up to the camera.
Oh, for goodness sake!
Oh, Mom, you just told the story.
Do it, Grandma. Show it.
Oh, show it up.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Now let's hush. This is enough.
It's like.
This could last forever.
Elsa says, "Oh, it looks like a no."
She said, "What, Paige? What'd she say, Paige?"
And I just broke the nail off because
Hey, she broke her nail, Waitsel.
Oh my goodness.
It's about to grow out.
And it takes so long for her to grow it back out.
Oh, Debbie, too funny. Hey, Debbie, you remember that time that we came over to my house and we all stayed out in the chicken coop?
Oh, loved it. One of the best times we've ever had.
Stayed in a chicken coop.
No, they had a chicken coop, Mom.
We had a summer party out in the chicken coop.
We did. We had the best time doing that.
And what'd the chickens do?
We're not.
No, we're not.
We had a chicken coop in the
that
backyard.
chicken coop in the back of our house.
No, Paige and them at Aunt Jane's house.
And we had a big old sleep out, and the boys
Yeah, the
drove
boys slept and
us
the girls
crazy.
slept. We had the best time doing that.
And what happened to the chickens while
There
all that
weren't
was
any
going on?
Well, we had to let them run in the yard while we were out
I
there.
don't think we had any chickens. I don't remember chickens.
No.
But we spent all day long. You know how you used to do when you were little kids? We spent all day long sweeping and making it look like a house. You know, we bring the dish. Aunt Jane let us bring all the stuff. You know, like making a playhouse, and we dish. What we were going to cook for supper? I think they were going to let us cook hamburgers, so we got everything ready so we could have like a cookout. We had a great
Debbie was
time
our
doing
leader.
that.
She was our fearless leader.
We did have a good time.
Who was
doing
your
that
leader?
Debbie.
Oh, Debbie was the
We
oldest. She was
did.
the oldest.
They wouldn't stay if I didn't stay, you know, because they were scared.
This is very
But
true.
I used to tell stories.
true.
Now I honestly got a card from one of Allison's friends the other day, and we used to have summer parties here, and we'd have 13 girls, and they'd all bring their sleeping bags, and at night I'd let them all get in here and they'd spend the night, and I'd tell ghost stories from Lenoir.
Goodness.
And there used to be the old keyhole house in Lenoir. I told stories about that, and that was true. It was haunted.
Somebody ringing it.
And
Wind chimes out there.
Oh.
and then also we tell stories with the old keyhole house and stuff that happened that was, you know, it was supposedly haunted. And that girl wrote me and she said, I still remember all the stories you used to tell us. She said, you'd have it, I'd get it just to get dark in here, you know, and it'd get just right, and I'd get them all,
And
I'd
nobody
get in the
wanted to go to
middle,
sleep because they
and
were
I'd get
so
them
terrified.
all real involved, and I knew when I had them, you know, ready that I'd captured them. And then
They were all calling their moms to go home.
well, I'd scare them telling the story, and they would just die. But they thought that was.
And
the
Frank would
greatest.
come and be like the
bad guy on the
silhouette
window.
outside.
Yeah. But they still remember those stories.
You have to
what
tell
tells
some of
them.
those.
But then remember that one mom, and then Drew came over that one night, and we were doing that light as a feather stuff with the board thing with Drew.
I
It
forgot.
was like all of us here, but then Drew walked over and we did that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the best time telling. But it would get really nice and quiet in here. I'd
like
get them
scream
all
or
just
something.
like ready to go, and then I'd scare them. They'd love it. But they
Well, you love it for
one
sure.
year they took all they took all of their sleeping bags
We
and
piled them
mound
up,
them up in the
flips
floor
and-
here. And I walked out of the room and came back. You wouldn't believe they had bags as tall as they were jumping from the fireplace over into all these sleeping bags. The miracle
Everything, every pillow, sleeping bag, we would do like
It's the one
flips
anybody
and-
had a house left
yeah.
when I finally got you
They
all.
love
We're just glad that they didn't end up on.
Well,
your-
Debbie, for the female cousins, tell us about when y'all used to do dress up at Nanny's house in that closet where she had all those
That's
clothes
not
and
fair.
All
shoes
the
and
fun
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I don't know
Because,
what to tell you.
well, Susie claims that she and Paige were always made to be the servant
No,
girls.
Susie was not. It was me and Ellen and Mary. Susie and Debbie and Libby all
They were
got
the
to be the
oldest of each
princesses.
family.
Because they were older.
And we, no, Susie was not. She was because she was a young little spoiled one. But me and Ellen definitely had to wear that yellow skirt. That was a peasant outfit. And y'all got to wear remember that velvet one? There was a velvet long one that one of you,
princesses
yes.
one.
And then there was another. What was the other real pretty one? Well, chiffony. There was something chiffony.
I don't remember exactly, but
But
Nanny
there
had
were definitely
Nanny
two,
had
but there was
hats
definitely
and
two
outfits.
cottony presenty things.
That's
Ellen.
the Ellen. You wear.
Me and Ellen did.
Nanny always had interesting things to do at
But
her
she had
house.
great hats. And she had those gloves we could put on. But she had it all upstairs. I mean, you walk upstairs was just as nice as Aunt Rosie's house. But she had this big bureau, and you pull out this great big drawer on the last two drawers, and they would be full of these beautiful evening clothes. And we just pull them out.
Well, Nanny wore evening clothes for a long time. You know, the long gloves. And,
those were-
she was like me. She saved all that stuff. Yeah. She saved pocketbooks and all this
we
stuff.
Had those
and so
little
whenever she
hats with
said
the
you could
netting.
do it,
Yeah.
and we didn't get to
That's
do it
neat.
all the time, but
Yeah.
she let us pull out, you know, and we just had the best time dressing up. And
we always got to be, and then she had that beautiful Persian rug upstairs, Oriental rug upstairs, so we just felt like we were in some little.
But I'll tell you one thing.
Beautiful.
You're having
Mama,
your own ball or something.
Yeah.
Mama and Nanny, Mama had stuff too. But what we would do is, it was called Saturday dress-ups. And we had like clubs. And so like on Saturday, we would dress up. Now I'm not sure if Paige still lived in Lenoir.
I have them.
But we would go over to Nanny's house, and I always had a bag that I kept a lot of these dress-up clothes in, and they were our Saturday dress-ups. And we would add to the Saturday dress-ups. So we'd go over to Nanny's house
cousins?
with
Like Libby
and we'd like spend it was like the parents were going out to play bridge or something. I don't know what they did, but anyway, we went out, and we'd come over to Nanny's with all of our spend the night stuff. And spend the night, and we'd have our dress-up bags, and is she leaving and I talked the whole time?
Well, one time there was a party out at the country club, and it was for Nanny's birthday, I think. And she had all these friends there, and we were sitting in the dining room part of the club, and they'd eaten. And here came those girls dressed up in Nanny's clothes, and they sang a song or did some party.
We always did skits and plays.
And
You and Libby were the best.
that was something. They weren't. I didn't know who had planned that. I think y'all just.
And
did it
Nanny
on
was
their own.
there.
And it was her birthday, I think, party. Somebody
You know
had a
she
birthday
loved that.
party. But anyway, they came dressed up and they sang and they told everybody they were Nanny's clothes they had on their hats and everything.
We did. We loved to press up,
Oh, I know.
and we'd save things and like add to the costumes. We'd make stuff, you know.
Oh, you remember that thing that we did over at the Broad Hills? It was the musical we did
Lord, I'm
with
scared to
Libby.
think of that.
Weren't you there? Libby kind of orchestrated it.
We had seats. We always sold tickets.
Yeah, we had seats, sold tickets, and we did like Mary Poppins, and we did.
Oh, yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah.
one? We had
We
our
had a
parasols,
dollhouse.
and we were up there in that, and we would change our clothes, and we'd come down, and we had the.
That's right.
We had strung the stage curtains and everything with the. But you know what we're talking about on that the musical, and you and Libby choreographed everything. And of course, that night we had something really done up well in the basement. We did that haunted house where we're gonna let people sell tickets and let them come down. We had things like where you could feel people's eyeballs.
Whose basement
it
was
in
that?
Aunt Betty's
This
basement.
Like you peel grapes.
We did that at our basement too.
Well, we did it, and then we made the big mistake. It was the girls who did it. And we let the big mistake of letting the boys come down to be our,
We got it.
you know.
Dead bodies?
And they just completely tore the thing up, and it was never to
We
be
did a lot of stuff.
See what happens when you got an awful lot of kids.
But I'll tell you what
There were a
else.
lot.
See what happens when you don't have television
Right.
and you do
See,
creative
that's
things.
right.
Yeah.
They weren't looking at television all the
Now,
time.
I did see
Or
this
working
thing on
on
TV.
computers all the time.
And we had a fun neighborhood.
Or
Remember
something
those skits
where
that
you
we
could
used
put
to
a
do with the
timer
girls
on
that
a
were up on the
candle
next Woodsway
Oh,
Lane?
yeah.
And so that
Jenny
when
Bush
the
and
timer goes on,
Yeah,
kids
and
they have to put
there were
it
some
down and
older
go do
ones
something
up there
outside.
too
At
that
least
there
that's
were
how they
several years older than us, and they used to
Yeah.
do really good
Oh, they do.
skits.
Yeah.
You know,
Really good
program it so
plays.
there's only
Wait
so
till
much
we gotta
time they
get
can be
through
on
What?
there.
Oh, and
Yeah.
then other times the TV doesn't work.
If we're gonna get on the road.
That would be,
Beside
that would
who?
be good.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you'd almost have to do something like that.
What are you doing, Waitsel?
I'm gonna sit right here next to Mom, you react fast enough.
All right, so give me another story. Tell me what you were just talking.
on
You were just talking about.
Tell us about some of those skits and things that we used to do.
too late.
Or tell us about some of those boyfriends. Debbie had boyfriends
Okay,
almost
we're not getting into that.
almost on every
Nah,
block.
Mike's over there,
get out of
Waitsel.
that mess.
We're going to have to get on the road, Waitsel, pretty soon.
I think this is fun.
Grom's got a lot to
Now, Debbie, I know I wrote you this, but I'm not sure you remember the time you were babysitting for me, and you and Greg ran around the house, ran me around that house into that closet under the steps with you had some matches in your hand, and y'all were gonna burn my hair.
I don't remember.
Mama.
Oh,
Debbie and Game.
I was traumatized for life. I cannot go near a match.
Like she
to this
keeps
day.
short hair
remember
now.
that. I remember Gang making up a lot of, not Gang, Greg making up a lot of mess, and your mama getting mad at me. I was the babysitter, and it was Greg making up stuff.
Oh,
And
see,
they
Greg
wouldn't believe me.
knew that he would
But
get
Greg
spanked.
took the hose one time, and he wouldn't let me back in the house to
Okay, this is a
babysit
good story.
because every time I'd start in, he'd squirt me with the hose.
That's actually a good idea. Squirt the baby.
Jimmy, I have no clue why you would have been so brave to babysit this.
We always had
Crap.
fun.
What was the age difference
You know
between
what
you
the
and
time-
next
you know what the
cousin?
thing
How
was
old
about your
was
house?
Debbie then? Who's the next one?
Your mother would let me cook. And
5 years.
she would get up in the mornings. I mean, Aunt Jane was pretty good about just saying, you can do so-and-so. You can make breakfast. Well, I thought I was big shot, you know. Oh, yeah, I get to go cook. But your daddy wanted me to help make breakfast one morning. And I think maybe Saturdays he must have had to do something with breakfast. I don't remember clearly enough why I had the reign of the kitchen, but I did this one morning.
He must want to go play golf.
And your daddy, I think something like it. But he told me to make breakfast, and I loved buttered toast. I like to butter the bread really thick on the top and put it in the broiler and broil it. Well, your mother came downstairs. I bet I had used 2.5 sticks of butter on this loaf of bread. Well, there were so many children that I always felt like I had to make a lot of food, you know. So I had
Well, Nanny was all the
2.5
time.
pans of toast, and I thought Aunt Jane was going to die. She started scraping that butter off that toast. Oh, my.
Grandmama, who stayed in more trouble?
I don't
Debbie, Waitsel, or Lyndon? We all know what the easy answer is, but we want to know what the truth is.
Sounds like Debbie.
We know what the
We know who got the most spankings, but who was actually the instigator behind all of it?
who was the biggest troublemaker out of the 3?
I don't know. There was
It's
one,
hard
and
to
then
tell.
I think they were all pretty much involved. But I don't know about.
Tell us about when you used to send us outside to get a switch to switch one of the other ones.
Where we lived when we
Every
were
one
little.
of y'all did that.
We had a hedge between us and the people
all
next
the
door.
all the mothers did that.
Yeah, and they would every time
Come back into
somebody
the
got
rose
into
bush.
trouble, the mother would send them out, somebody out to get a switch. Well, they'd come in with a stick.
Or those rose bushes. They go off and cut one of those thorn rose bushes.
I
No,
don't
that's
remember
for
that.
Cynthia's.
For Cynthia.
Oh, now the fish is, they
They
make
were
it
like a
like
whip.
snap.
But I don't think any of them got much of a whipping though.
No, we didn't.
They were too.
And she couldn't catch it.
She was just
Yeah, Mom
trying-
used to.
Oh,
Mom
I
used
know
to
they
chase
couldn't-
us around the kitchen table. Can you imagine a parent having to chase their child around the kitchen table to try and catch us?
And they would put the switches after I got through. I'd put them up on the top of the refrigerator so they couldn't get them, and they would fall back in. They would knock them back into the.
Now, see, we never got smart enough.
Oh,
We were scared. You must not have been scary enough, Aunt Rosie, because all my mother, she'd stick it up there, and all she'd have to do anymore, she never switch, and then she'd just have to look up there at that top of that refrigerator. We'd stop doing whatever it was we were going to do and see. We
You
were well
were
trained.
dead.
We were well trained, unlike.
Well,
some
all Mom had to say was, "Wait till your father gets home." That's all she had to say.
Yeah, that would have scared me too.
Poor old, that was an awful thing for a father to have to come home and know he had to whip somebody for something he didn't even know that.
Debbie, I can't believe your dad would belch you. My dad,
I just
daddy ever
remember
belched
one
me.
time when we were living, when mine were all
He must have
small.
been pretty mad about that.
When we were all small, my brothers, we had a friend that lived across the street, a family that we loved to go to their house because they were always making fudge or cookies or something, you know. We loved to go up there. And so one night, Mother called and told us to come home, and I came home, but the boys kept staying up there. And so Dad came home. She called and told them that they had better get home, and so they came. And I can remember him taking them down to the basement and using a piece of a board or something. I thought.
Drink a beer.
Your daddy did that. My daddy.
My daddy.
no.
Paul.
Daddy
No,
never
talking
did
about
that.
Paul.
not Daddy.
Paul, she's talking
It
about
was
Paul.
my dad. My
Paul did
dad.
it.
Right.
Paul.
To your brothers.
Just one of them down at a time and give them a pay.
And they deserved it, I guarantee it.
Because they didn't find their mother and come home when they were supposed to.
Right.
They just stayed on and on.
Yeah, my
They
dad
had
never
such a
used
good
a
time.
That's the way it was back then. The mom just kind of said this was what your punishment was going to be.
And
It was
the dad-
wait
She
till
was the
dad
judge
said-
and he was the executioner.
Yeah, that's. I didn't ever have to whip them up.
Well, it was the worst punishment. It was just the weight.
Yeah, it was.
You'd be like, oh no,
Till we
the
got
dread.
home.
Right. Then your whole day's ruined
Yeah.
because you know that you're
It
going to
didn't
do
matter
something.
really. I don't know.
I'm
What
sure
happened
they
after
didn't
that?
get whipped very hard.
Oh,
I'm sure he just
oh,
tried to scare them.
Oh, Mom.
No, we got
Come
had
on.
some pretty good
Well,
whippings.
you weren't talking about you. I'm about Charlie, Dick, and Bob.
Oh, I don't know about them.
Oh, you know they did. They did a lot worse stuff than your children did.
They did awful things back then.
You'll
Well, at
tell
least
us.
we all
You'll
see,
tell
so
us
when
about
you
when,
have children and they do these things, they got
When
it very
Vernon was at my
honestly.
house, and
when they rolled
I
the
think
car
every
down the hill.
generation
well, that
probably
was
gets
in
in
that
the
was
same
in the
amount of trouble. It's
Depression
just
when
different
Dad had
stuff, you know.
It
had a
is.
car and
Everybody
he had
goes
it
crazy.
sold the next day. And my dad, we lived in
Oh,
the
yeah.
country for about 5 years during the Depression, and my dad came home one night and said he had sold his car, that he was going to get a new car, a better car. Well, anyway, he always brought the newspaper home at night. Went from, and so one of us, Dick, I jumped in the car to get the newspaper, and Dick, my brother Dick, got behind, started pushing the car, and left the wheels turned down. So, and it was a sloping front yard. It went rolled all the way down the front yard, and there was a bank at the end, and the car went off that bank, and he didn't get to sell the car. We just had to. Can you imagine tearing a car up?
Oh no.
I mean, back during the, they were living in the Depression.
You don't want to know something
Last
really
page of the
bad.
article thing.
Vernon Smith, who was a cousin, was visiting us, and I was gonna, and anyway, I had a cot I was sleeping on because we, I don't remember why, but anyway, those boys, I didn't know it, but they put straight pins up under my sheet,
Oh.
and then they told me something and wanted me to, and I had to sit down to do whatever. Would you believe I sat down on those straight
Oh
pins?
my gosh.
That just shows you
Oh,
what
my dad
what
and
I
Uncle Dick
lived
would tell that
with.
story and laugh and laugh.
That was,
Oh, and that
Painful.
story, and then of course when they had that goat get after you, Aunt Rosie.
they want,
Had that goat to get after you.
oh well, that
They let a goat chase you?
owned a goat. Dad came home with this little tiny white thing, and brought it home. Somebody had given it to him, and so anyway, we kept the goat, and my brother Dick just aggravated poor old goat to death, and so I said, what? Anyway, and I'd go to school and walk home after school, and that goat would be standing in there waiting for me as I got I walked up this path anyway. And I would stand there and scream for mother. I was scared after that goat because he had little horns, and I don't know why I was afraid of him, but my brothers had made him so mean.
Dick
Especially.
had aggravated it to
just for
death.
you.
He teased it and aggravated it. Oh.
I mean, can you really imagine how Aunt Roseanne grew up in the
And we
family
go up
of
in the
those
woods.
three boys?
We had all these trails up in the woods where we
And
lived.
she turned
It was
it
a
out like she did.
75-acre farm, and they taught
And
we
Paul
go out
obviously
and
did.
look for
Right.
what did I say?
Your arrowheads.
Arrowheads up in the woods, and there were all these cows paths, you know, and so they'd take off, and then if they got me up in the woods, they would take off and hide. And I didn't know how to get back to them.
Great brothers, huh?
You wonder if I even live, still living. And I'd be standing there wondering which path to take to get back to the house.
Well, that's what my sister knows.
We had fun. It was a great time.
We thought we did have fun though. Even though it was mean.
Yeah.
Mean fun.
See, that's what
I'm
you
gonna
got.
I'm gonna think about that. Mean
Three
fun.
brothers,
Oh, yeah.
and then have aggravating kids then later.
We were just talking about that. I had one sister, so I mean, we fought
So
about
you-
clothes and hairbrushes, and we didn't come back, you know, bloody accidents and all this stuff that Franklin says about him and Cameron. I don't know how Debbie made it through.
See, some families were normal, but ours were kind of.
I thought we'd send the boys just out in the back.
I don't
We
think
probably
it's
get
such
outside doing it.
family.
And then we'd sit there and watch them having this big brawl. And Mother would still be just cooking dinner, and I'm like,
You make a fuss
Yeah,
over it.
we didn't get into. I mean, I didn't think.
you know,
it was
these days you
trouble
do that.
back
Somebody will
then.
call DSS. One of the children will just go, I'm gonna call DSS on you, Mom.
And that's the truth. Look at the fun they would have missed.
Back then, y'all just had nothing to do but had to entertain yourselves. Cause
Well, why did y'all ever let us go outside and run behind the DDT truck?
I don't know.
Mother let us get on the bicycles and follow it down South Main.
What's
Yeah.
the DDT truck?
It's the stuff that kills your
Right.
brain.
Kills mosquitoes and ticks, and it's a pesticide.
We called it the fog truck.
Yeah.
Pesticide truck.
We would go out there, and we would just remember doing that.
It'd be like the ice cream truck today. We just dance along behind it.
Now you know Willard.
We had ice cream
Wait, so you know
trucks,
Willard
too.
was out there in the fog with us.
We had ice cream trucks. We had DD trucks. We had tar
That
trucks.
crazy guy in Lenoir.
I don't remember us
Yeah.
chewing tar, but I do
Sometimes
remember
you see
coming
have
down the
different
street.
costume on. It's the mother they
Tar
said,
in the
"Oh,
road.
We watched the
I don't
YouTube
remember
videos
eating it
on
like some
chewing
people talking
tar.
about eating it.
Somebody
But
eat
I-
it.
Would chew it.
I do remember us eating dirt out of the driveway. We used to do that.
Rosie.
Ugh.
Where?
Was grandma cooking for you or
I don't
something?
know why we did it. We just
You
did
need a
whatever
little
came
fiber.
in
You
our
must not have
heads.
given them any fiber.
Or somebody would dare them probably to do it, and they would do it.
That's probably what it was. But tar would taste awful. I would not chew on it.
We never chewed on it, but some in some neighborhoods did. Because it was gummy.
What are you talking about?
Tar truck, the old tar trucks used to come down the street.
Tar?
Don't you remember the tar trucks used to come down the street?
I know, but I don't remember anybody but eating.
We didn't, but some
Now,
town
see,
used to chew
there's some
that
memories
tar.
coming out of the hat now.
But that just looks like chewing on like bug.
We think we lived in a wild, crazy place, didn't we?
But you know, in the summertime, and we had 3 months of summer, that Mom would feed us breakfast, and then that would be it. We'd be off for the day. Whatever we wanted, whatever we wanted to do until supper time.
And they never knew where we were. They just knew we were
Supper time, they
downtown.
call
or-
us, and we'd come in, and that was it.
Well, not downtown. We just played in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Well,
The
yeah.
neighborhood, and they didn't worry. We didn't have to worry about
We
stuff.
forget what
They
time
were-
it
And they
was.
would just put
You
little
know, you just
shit
go.
in.
That's how it was when
We
I was
go
growing
the
up.
neighborhood. We have a little forest.
See, that's good.
You know, like
You
this,
had
and we
that,
just decided to make a playhouse over there. We'd go
You
and
spend all
start
day doing
scraping
it.
and taking logs and lining the. You know, Mother didn't come worry about
They had-
somebody attacking us and all that
As long
stuff.
as we knew you, when I could see you a lot of times.
I don't remember, but I don't remember copperheads and things like that.
No,
We had bees.
Just at Nanny's house.
We had bees. Our neighbor had bee houses, and we planned plots to kill the bees. And the man hated us.
Yeah.
We'd throw sticks at the beehives and then see if we could outrun the bees.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
my.
come on.
Now, who was it had the bees? Did the bells have the bees?
No, this was in our
Over
old
This is old
Sharon.
Mr.
Oh.
off of Sharon Road. What was his name?
Mr.
Lived up on the corner.
On Sharon Road.
Off of Sharon Road. Had an immaculate
what was
house
his
with
name?
gardens.
Right behind us, through the
Oh,
woods
I
on
can
the other
think of it, but I
side.
can't think
Starts
of
with
it.
a W. Will.
Mr.
Willard.
No,
Skip that names.
Not Will Cox. What was his name?
off of Woodsway Lane.
Yeah.
All right, now I can't think.
Oh, man. The Graveleys, I remember the Graveleys had a trampoline. We'd go up there
They
and
did.
jump
Show me
on the
too.
trampoline.
We played on the trampoline.
Allison, show us your chipped tooth for the day.
We had some
we
good
better.
stuff.
Janie's gonna think we were the worst people in the world.
No, she's not.
My dad had brothers, and I hear stories about them.
That's what she said.
Locking them. They had a brother. My dad was the oldest, and he had a brother that was about a year and a half younger than he was, and they had a brother who was 13 years younger. And they would have to babysit, you know, when they would, the parents would go out to dinner, and they were supposed to babysit the younger brother. Well, they would lock him in the trunk, so the brother would go to dinner with them. They would go to the car to go out to dinner, and he's banging on the trunk. Like, that's the easiest way to babysit him. Just let him go to dinner with him. them. Isn't that awful? I mean, they never got
That was
away.
13 years. The youngest was 13 years younger.
They used to use them as home base when they play baseball. They'd make them lay there.
Oh,
So yeah, I've heard those stories, but I just had a sister, so we were pretty good. We didn't have any of those.
That's making us look pretty good.
Yeah. But I think that's the funny story. My dad still to this day denies that he ever did that. But my grandmother would always say, Jada, he did that.
Well, talk about Frank. Let's tell what happened to Frank when he's a little boy.
Uh-oh, Frank.
Uh-oh.
Doc, go sit on the couch. Go sit on the hot seat.
Dad,
Go sit on the hot seat.
Dad had a brother who was older by 5 years. And Frank's brother was always doing stuff to him. And so one day Frank's mother was in the house and the brothers came running in the house. They had tied him to a pole in the front yard, put corn husk around it, and set it on fire.
Oh my
And if she hadn't come out, she said he would be dead to this day. They had set the
That's that's murder.
This is your older brother that I met at your party.
Yes.
What did you do to him, Frank?
Someone did that to me and Catherine Whitehead one time.
Oh, Allison. I was
Franklin,
waiting for some of
Cameron,
those
you
stories
and
to
Scott.
come out.
Y'all took us way out in the woods. We didn't know where we were. Y'all tied us to a tree and left.
Franklin.
But you somehow it looks like. Somehow you slipped out of that knot.
They set him on fire.
Our matches got wet.
mercy.
I bet that's amazing. He
Yes,
didn't
you
even
know, we
sit
used
down
to
to this
do
day.
Did he get in
Not
trouble
Frank,
for
but
that?
his brother. He should have got.
He didn't get in trouble?
No.
He didn't do
Oh,
anything.
Frank.
Anybody is
My
still
brother's
alive
6
in this
foot tall.
whole group. It's all things
It's a
that haven't
miracle.
grown up.
Wow. I bet you were
I always
scared.
think it's a miracle that you
Did it burn
survived
you?
your youth.
It is. Back in that
One way or the other.
No.
Amazing.
It was smoke. It was
Here's
smoking.
somebody driving up.
You got company. We're going to have to get on the road.
I know we do, and this is just so much fun.
It's Preacher Smith. Pete Smith.
Oh, Lord.
Pete Smith.
All right,
Franklin, what you
I
hear
was like,
today?
Preacher Smith.
we're gonna have to take off.
I hate y'all, but we got to get the plans up. And I wanted to do some jackets.
You don't have time.
Frank.
About company.
Frank. I don't say what a second because I got some stuff I want to do with Mama real quick.
Okay.
Just tell him to come back later.
Won't y'all do that, Deb? And
Tell him they're getting ready to
Are you
leave.
videotaping the fact that
Just
he's
say she's napping. Just say she's napping.
yeah, I'm videotaping it, Paige. You know what else I'm videotaping?
Oh, my God.
I'm videotaping you covering your eyes, and that's not doing anything because we can
hold him down, you can be
we can still see you, Paige, even though you cover your eyes. We're looking at you,
Stop it.
Paige. Stop! That's violence. Stop.
Curse on him. Waitsel, please act decent. This the
Uh
Wait, something preacher, honey.
See, now that's
Hey.
oh. We got preachers in our family.
Come on, honey. Come on, put it up. Here comes someone.
Okay. All right, Deb. Thanks for all those stories, Deb.
This has been something.
But we got to go back and do those things real quick before you leave. We got to get back there and do them.
Mama, don't be in a rush. His time is.
I need to go do something with Mom. You're coming in?
You do what you need to do. This time's more important than what he's gonna be doing. I promise you.
I'll just stay a second and say we got to get Mama some stuff.
Jane,
All right,
Jane's
Mom.
brings, like,
Say goodbye.
tagged.
Goodbye,
We
Reese.
did the picture.
Say goodbye to the viewers. This is going on the internet. Say
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while.